the more I think about it, the more I realize that this might be what you might want to call the golden age. These 4 years of President Trump represents a huge window of opportunity if we can seize the moment. Because, it's evidently clear now that trade wars are going to be the thing, for the next few years. So whatever message that you try to give to the people about being independent, about doing trade within our own African countries, and then having American entrepreneurs also join in this race, I think it kind of like resonates with a lot of people because everybody's following up with whatever is happening with Trump and his administration. So that's why I wrote a very long message.
Rodney and I was just talking about that.
Oh, really?
Can you chime in on that, Rodney?
Absolutely. We were just, like I said, we were just talking about it. And I was saying that I would say this is an opportunity to bring on it for the diaspora, the brothers here in America, us in American and our African brothers over in the continent. You guys bring us together. We'll be the ones that will be negotiating these trade deals that are going on between United States and Africa. And I was just saying, I was telling Mr. Marshall, I just had something that came across my desk. I can't really go into depth with it now because I don't have enough information, but it's just incredible opportunity that when I get all the pieces together, I can present it. But it's just so much opportunity right now that is going on. That's going to happen. It's my feeling because, like I said, a lot of the countries now, even with the BRICS and whatever is going on, they're back in there. They're not using the American dollar, the United States dollar anymore. They're backing their own currency up with their natural resources. So that's going to be that's another whole situation there. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on right now, especially with this administration. Mr. Marshall said they just signed over 200 executive orders, and we don't. Some we know about, and others we don't. So yeah. It's moving fast. Absolutely.
It's a big surprise every move that's made. We wake up the next day and we see something. We will have dominance and control of Canada at some point. We'll have Mexico and we'll have Greenland. So Gaza will turn into a golf course and.
Yes, it's very interesting as well. I know the media is loving it. And I know they're rating get very insane. He says wild, crazy. Like the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico, calling it the Gulf of America, stuff like that. So yes, it's very entertaining.
Yeah, but I believe this administration is more for independence than ever. Because this is the opportunity for Africa to bud and come out and represent. Without any help because they have all the resources that they need to function.
Yeah, absolutely. I was following up on the world government leaders meeting somewhere, I think, in the Middle East or something. And then Mr. Musk came via video and they were asking him questions. And I remember him saying in response to one of the questions, he said, in the past, the United States has interfered a lot with the affairs of other countries. But this time around, under Trump's administration, we don't want to do that. We want to leave the word alone and focus on our own affairs, as in doing business and focusing, with those countries that actually do business with us and vice versa. So that alone is a huge message going across the world that each country, each continent has to become more strategic in how they trade. And there's going to be less aid now and more trade. I'm sure you guys know whatever is happening with the U.S. ID. I think, that needs not even to be mentioned. So what I'm thinking is that this is the best time to position Africa to do business with the U.S. and then in the meantime, encourage Africans to do business among themselves because our intertrade rate is very small. I think it's less than 15%. Whereas if you look at the European Union, inter-country trade is probably about 60 to 70%. So we've got a long way to go. So if we could do that, then the productivity would increase in Africa, and then at the same time, we could do business across with other continents, and we could become, as Mr. Rodney has said here, we could be the ones opening up these deals and even negotiating some of these deals as middle people or something like that. So there's a lot of opportunity that this era represents, and if we're sensitive enough, we can open our ears and swing fast enough. I'm sure this is the time where when a lot of people's ears are sensitive to new information, uplifting information, and they're willing to go along right now because it's evidently clear that it's a new era of doing business.
Have you ever seen the eagle holding a small prey, and there comes another predator after the eagle, and then the eagle runs off, and the small prey takes off and run?
Yeah, it's more common here in Africa.
So if you can think of the situation that the world has been in terms of trade and collaboration, we're at that moment where, as you said, there's a window of opportunity that we should take advantage of.
Right.
I would like to hear from Elizabeth.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Elizabeth.
How are
Hello,
you?
Elizabeth.
How's everybody doing?
We're doing great. You're welcome here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I was just listening in as I popped in a bit late. I was trying to adjust my Zoom camera, but apparently it's not working. I have a feeling that the Microsoft Teams app has bumped off some of I don't know, the settings for Zoom, especially the video settings. I'm not able to launch it. And I was thinking about what has just happened to me is exactly what's happening in the world economy. One product is actually going to do better than another product, and they're going to find ways of actually bumping off products off the African market so that they can focus on their own product. And I can give an example of that, BRICS. BRICS is a huge movement that is spreading like a cancer to some people, but to others, it's spreading like a field of wildflowers. So as it spreads, certain products are going to be bumped off the continent while new products are going to be brought onto the continent. And we're going to be seeing more and more of this happening. And I think the US is now panicking because it's growing so quickly. And with Trump's move, it's just adding fuel to the vehicle that's going to push BRICS to meet its targets in all the different sectors of political cooperation, economic development, trade, and financial reforms. All of those things are going to take off exponentially. I'm not saying this because I'm predicting. I'm saying this because I have seen their plan for Africa to grow until 2030 within the next 5 years and even beyond that. And they're slightly behind schedule, but this nudge of USAID being pulled out of the continent of Africa, it's giving us a larger nudge towards independence and finding new partners to work with. And BRICS is already there, and it's an opportunity for other countries to join BRICS. So that's how I see it. I see it evolving even more, and it's kind of shaken the foundation of modern colonialism. And soon enough, modern colonialism will soon start crumbling, and it's forcing Africans to band together and grow much faster in a new and unique way. That's what I think.
You're spot on with that.
Yeah.
That's one of the elements that has been holding back the collaboration and
Exactly.
the dismantling that's taking place with our administration here in the States is a big part of coming against that movement. And there's this undercurrent that's taking place and the shuffling that's taking place with the global community. There are two sides to this coin, and we are in a great place as the global community to take advantage of some of the things that are taking place. A lot of people don't see those moves that are being made. They are going on about their daily business, and they don't understand what's happening from a global perspective. And so those that are understanding the opportunities that are at hand right now can take advantage of that. And I think we're in a great place to do that.
Exactly, exactly. And what is
Absolutely. Oh, sorry. I think we've got to be like China in many different ways. If you look at how China has behaved over the past, let's say, a couple decades, I really like the way they think. For instance, I think during the Biden's administration, they kind of knew that somehow, some way, President Trump would come back into power. And once he did, they knew for sure that he was going to make business difficult for them. For example, imposing those tax or tariffs and things of that nature. And they, in response to that, this is called scenario playing. They developed a lot of partnerships around the world. They opened a lot of trade routes across the world, especially in Africa. So now that when President Trump said he was going to impose a 25% tariff on them, they were just laughing, because they had already decided that they were not going to be doing a lot of business with the U.S. Because they already had a backup plan, meaning that they were ready to do business with a whole lot of other countries globally. So I think this forward thinking and future and visionary type of seeing is what's needed. And as Brother Franklin says, that if we can, a lot of people are going about their daily business, but if we could sit back and foresee where the world is going just in these 4 or 5 years, I'm sure we can make tremendous progress with African Trade Network.
I believe so as well. I totally believe so. And at the rates that we're going, I'll give you an example. I actually had a meeting with the investment forum, the Africa Investment Forum. They wanted to collaborate. Now they're reaching out to anybody, anyhow, that is an indigenous African business to collaborate because they know that they can't do it anymore. And I'm seeing more and more of that happening. I was seeing my brother off at the airport a few days ago, and I got into the elevator to go up to the departure lounge. And I got into the elevator with 2 South African guys. And it was a very short, trip in the elevator, but they were so excited to see me. They noticed that I was Zambian. They're like, yeah, we just came here for business. And, they just beamed. And there was a sense of connection with me. They instantly connected because there was a sense of connection as Africans. We are Africans. And here's the irony. They were not Black Africans. They were white South Africans. So you have the dynamics of different types of Africans wanting to work together as Africans. It's no longer about race. It's no longer about your creed or your religion. It's about being African.
What do you think about the group of people that came to Ghana to become citizens? They were a group of Europeans and American Anglo people. They came to become citizens of Ghana. So you have a lot of that because people are seeing the opportunities in Africa.
We actually have, as Hitskalut, we actually have clients who have already started creating a community here in Zambia of Afrocentric people who are returning to the continent of Africa. And the gentleman who runs the project, he is originally from the Caribbean, but was born and raised in the UK. So he left the UK because he just got tired of being treated like a third-class citizen, even though he was a British citizen. And he packed up his bags, he's an engineer, packed up his bags, took his savings, flew to Ghana, tried to settle there. He just didn't quite feel it, and hopped over to another country. I can't remember where. I think it was Tanzania. And he didn't quite feel it until he landed in Zambia, and then he felt like he was at home. So he has settled here as an engineer
Now,
and as an investor, basically. He's settled here as an investor. And he's also encouraging other Africans to look at Zambia as an opportunity to come here as a peaceful place where people can embrace you. It's the same thing that's happening in Ghana, and I'm sure in other African countries as well. So Ghana is just one of many, many communities that are accommodating Afrocentric people that want to come back to the continent, even though they don't know where they originally came from. Their ancestors were ferried to Europe or America through slave trade, and they don't know their roots. And you will have quite a few people traveling across the continent trying to find ways of investing their money on the continent and finding a place where they can lay their hat and call it home because they don't feel at home in Europe or America. Then you've got another group of people who are still in Europe or America and cannot leave because they're obligated to look after family members who are there, but are sending money to the African continent to invest because they don't want to invest their money in Europe or America. That's another group of people who are doing that. And we also have a few clients who are like that as well.
Just to add on what Elizabeth is saying, if you couple that with a group of with a lot of people who would like to visit Africa just for research, to try and find out, if the continent can work for them, then you probably have three big groups of global citizens, especially in America. You have Americans, especially African Americans, who would like to migrate here. And then you have those, we call them Africans in the diaspora. They work there and want to do things in Africa. And then you have both whites and blacks and Latinos and, yellow and whatever colors. They're really interested to come down here in Africa, but usually they don't know a safe way to come here because they have all these preconceived notions. They still believe or feel that Africans, some of them still live in on trees and mountains and under trenches. So if we could position the ATN to just do the work of linking all these groups to the continent, and I'm here, Elizabeth is here, and other Africans are here, that alone will be a gigantic task for the ATN.
Yes, I totally agree.
one of the things that James talked about this morning, he reminded me of our initial goal with the African Trade Network. The goal was to set up chapters of African Trade Network in every state of the U.S. and Africa to create collaborations as this organization called Business Network International. You may have heard of that. And to allow people to collaborate from those chapters throughout the continent of the U.S. and Africa with each other, having different positions within a chapter so that we can disperse our goals and dreams and collaborate on a much more palatable fashion, working together with trade in a symbiotic way throughout the U.S. and the continent of Africa. So James, as always, he's good at waking up old dreams and aspirations. So I appreciate that, James, and we're going to meet and we're going to talk about how we can revitalize and rejuvenate this dream of chapters and collaboration.
Brother Franklin, this is the time to do what Frederick was that Frederick Douglass? Who was that guy's name? Was that Frederick Douglass?
You're thinking of Marcus Garvey.
Marcus Garvey. This is the time now because look, President Trump, it's clear that he's not so much in love with. Look at how many Africans he has repatriated back home. I don't have the numbers. Not only Africans, I think a lot of Colombians were sent back
Everybody.
home. Everybody's sent back home. So this is time for people to go back to their home. It's time for
Yep,
people to go
yep,
back to Africa. Here nobody's going to discriminate anybody. Land, we have abundance of land everywhere, a lot of resources. And can you imagine like a $50,000 saved away could mean so much here, people launch their business with as much as $10,000 and go on to make a lot of money because, things are cheap here. Resources are abundant. Labor is cheap here. I mean, so this is the best place for all of these people who don't feel comfortable in America. The other time I was reading news and I saw people were going to Europe because they don't like President Trump. And I was like, why don't you come to Africa? Because with $1 million here, you could invest in like a bunch of businesses and forever be free.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Franklin and I and Rodney, we were discussing about the opportunity of setting up a workshop, a cultural dynamic workshop, to introduce the opportunity to talk to Americans to come and invest on the continent of Africa. And
Right.
this is something that Rodney and I are trying to pull partners together, and this is how we met Franklin Marshall and now yourself as well. So I think if we can start from the capital, Maryland, D.C. area, where all the embassies are, and we can actually start the discussion from there, and then it can be rolled out into the different cities as Franklin has said, that there's so many other chapters across the United States in the different states. And then we roll it out from there. And it's through those networks that the buzz will start being heard. And those who have been looking for an opportunity can actually jump on the bandwagon. And one thing that we do as Hitgalut is that we emphasize the cultural dynamics of doing business on the continent of Africa. We want them to understand how each region of the African continent works before they can just come with their suitcase of investments, whether it's money, whether it's equipment, or whether it's property, whatever it is that they're coming with. Before they can even bring that, they need to understand the cultural dynamics of entering into that country and doing business into that country and what goes with it. Simple things of, we talked about this before, simple things of how you show respect to chiefs, how you show respect to the head of state, how you show respect to anybody who's older than you. And our way of showing respect is very different. And as Africans, we're very affectionate people. We hug, we shake hands, we embrace in a way that some Americans may not do that. You will find that some Americans will say, "Don't invade my space." Africans will not understand that. They'll be offended. So these are the cultural dynamics we're talking about. And also the issue of not diving straight into talking about business. Africans want to know who you are and who your father is and where you come from. Are you coming from a lineage of royalty or not? Are you coming from a family of drunkards or not? And that will determine whether the conversation will move to the next level. And also your open-mindedness to understand the cultural environment of where you're going to, bringing a token of appreciation of where you're coming from. Let's say, for example, you're coming from Philadelphia. You bring a little I don't know, souvenir of the what do you call it, the bell, what's that, the bell, the Liberty Bell, is it the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia?
Yeah, the Liberty
Or
Bell.
even,
It's called the Liberty
yeah,
Bell. Yeah.
the Liberty Bell. If you're coming from New York, you bring a little souvenir of the Statue of Liberty, whatever it is. San Francisco, it could be the bridge, a little souvenir from there saying, this is from my home country. That is a token of appreciation. And as that is a way of entering and showing that you're ready to work with them. The Chinese have understood that culture, because they do it themselves. They pay homage and respect when entering into somebody's territory. They kneel, they bow, they bring a gift. It's also part of their culture as well. The Japanese is also part of their culture as well. They bring a gift. Before even doing any business transaction, you bring a gift. America and Europe, they don't do that. They need to understand that these are the cultures. That's why it's so
Yeah.
easy for an organization like BRICS to be formed, because they understand each other's cultures, which are not too different. They're not too different. They're very, very similar. And this symbiotic way of working together has made it so much easier. And the way America has pulled out USAID is a fresh of breath. It's a fresh breath of air for Africans. Why? Because some of the programs were bringing cultural dynamics from America and trying to enforce it within our systems. And we don't want that. That's colonialism. We already went through colonialism where they try to wipe out our culture and our traditions and try to make us and mold us more into them. We don't want that anymore. We want to work with you, grow, and expand our businesses. That's all we want. So the members of BRICS understand that. They do understand that. So that's why it's so easy for them to get in the thickle of doing business with Africans.